Hello, I have a story to continue from the beginning. I will start telling the story from now on. Until a long time Uncle Yak and Uncle Yu walked back. But he didn't tell me anything and sent him to sleep. Mother saw the three older siblings standing and talking for a while, so they separated and went to sleep. That night, all night until morning, Uncle Yu moaned that her stomach hurt until it was almost light. Uncle Yak and Uncle Yu drove off to see the same medicine man again. And after a while, Grandpa and Grandma came back home. Uncle Yu then walked in and told him about last night. But I don't really believe this, but Grandma seemed quite convinced. Until late in the morning, Grandfather and Uncle Yu went out to do gardening. In the house, there was only Grandma, Mother, and Uncle Yin to take care of Uncle Yem, who was still sleeping with stomach pain. Then suddenly a relative of my grandmother who lives not far away walked in and said she had come to visit. Grandma went to the back of the house to find water for her to drink. During that time, that same old woman who walked hidden with relatives, he walked into the house. Walked all the way to the front of Mom and Uncle Yin's bedroom. Then Mother and Grandmother heard the voice of the aunt. Screaming very loudly, my grandmother ran back to see what was wrong with her daughter. He was shocked when he saw that old woman standing in the room. Grab a bowl of water and throw it in, then shouted and cursed, "Why did you come? You're leaving the house right now." The old woman looked back, smiled, and walked back out. My grandmother ran in to see Auntie Em, but now Auntie Em is asleep. The relative asked what was wrong. My grandmother didn't tell me. As for my mother, I didn't know what to tell her. For a while in the afternoon, Grandfather and Uncle Yud returned to eat at home. Grandma went in to talk to Grandpa about that old woman coming to the house again. Grandpa doesn't really believe in things like this, so he says never mind, it's okay. But next time, let's look at it when someone comes to the house. While talking, Uncle Yak and Uncle Yu drove back home just in time by bringing the same medicine doctor along. The doctor asked if her condition had not improved yet. Grandma said that it had been slow for several days. It just started happening last night. It was agreed that he probably had to be taken to a hospital in the province, which was very far away. Grandma, Mother, Uncle Yu, and the medicine man walked in to check on Uncle Yim's condition. When I went in, Auntie Yim was already sleeping with her eyes open. The medicine doctor then asked how it was. Still not better. But the answer that Uncle Yim answered, what is it, friends? The word science must be eliminated first. I don't believe it. But someone told me this. I typed accordingly. And Tyam replied to the medicine doctor saying, "I'm not EM. That shit doctor shit is really messing with me. I'm going to drag you all out." After that, Uncle Yim couldn't stop laughing. Grandma said, "What's wrong? Are you crazy?" Uncle Yim didn't answer and just laughed. The medicine doctor asked back, "Mangi XX, right?" Uncle Yim turned and looked at the medicine doctor for a second. He didn't answer and fell asleep. Grandma tried to wake her up, but she didn't wake up. Meanwhile, Uncle Yak walked in and asked what was the matter. The medicine man then took Uncle Yak and Grandpa to walk outside and talk. At that time, my mother didn't know what they were talking about. But later, Uncle came to tell me that the medicine man suspects that Aunt Yem is being eaten by a ghoul. It's an old woman named XX. Lived not far from here. Do you remember the people you met before? My eyes still can't believe it. But Uncle Yak told the story of last night to the medicine man and grandfather that he had met a woman as well. Last night, but not an old person, it's a middle-aged woman. The medicine man heard this and was shocked. His face turned pale, and he said that he had heard people tell stories like this too. The black-shirted woman said it was scary. Being a ghost isn't exactly a ghoul. All I know is that I have heard about this woman in black for a long time. As for that old woman who played with things so much she lost her mind. Normally, they live in a quiet, peaceful place, rarely meeting anyone. If you were a normal person, meeting you would be like meeting a normal old person. But if anyone is sick and mentally weak, discomfort is considered very dangerous. I think Yum must have gotten in. Grandma came in and heard her crying. Are you saying it's true, doctor? The doctor and grandfather reassured me that it was just a guess. It might not be anything. Uncle Yak saw his mother crying and became angry. Ask the medicine doctor. Where is his house? I'm going to stomp all the way home. Did you hit an old man, uncle? The medicine doctor said no. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just guessing. If you heard someone like that, you'll all be in trouble. But it was too late. Uncle Yak walked over and picked up a three-faced stick. Said, there's nothing, let's go to the doctor and take him to his house. I'm going to ask if it's a haha or not. I like to come and cause trouble in my house. Grandma and grandfather stopped him, but Uncle Yak, Dr. Yo and Uncle Yu walked out and shouted, nothing, Mom, just go talk. In the meantime, my mother, grandparents, Uncle Yen who didn't know much, and Uncle Yo were waiting at home. For about an hour, Uncle Yak and the medicine man returned. My grandparents asked how it was. Have you seen it? Uncle Yak said he found it. There were 2 to 3 people at home, including children and grandchildren. Grandma was shocked and said, was there something going on? Uncle Yak said, no, I don't have an issue. How can I have one? People at home say that it just died when tattooed. An hour ago. The old woman's house was deep in the pine trees. Stand alone far from people's homes. The medicine man told me that when we arrived, there was a commotion in the house. As he entered, he saw the old woman lying on a wooden mat with a small white cloth covering his face, so the medicine man asked the people in the house what was wrong with him. The man and woman living in the house said they were the grandson of this old woman. Every day at noon, rice would be delivered, but today is late. When he entered the house, he was shocked because he saw his aunt lying face down in the doorway. They looked together and concluded that he had died. The man and woman also said that. When my aunt was close to her death, it must have been very painful because her body was full of small scratches that scratched the ground deeply. After talking for a while, as for Uncle Yak, he asked to come back here. The medicine man finished his story and asked my grandfather how to take it. Grandfather said that today was very cold and he would have to wait until tomorrow morning to take Uncle Yum to the hospital in the province. Having concluded this, Uncle Yu drove the medicine man back. But before leaving, the doctor ordered him not to let Uncle Yum go anywhere. Let him sleep alone and keep watch over him. Maybe Uncle Yum has some kind of disease, move too much, and you'll get worse. Tomorrow I'll go check my symptoms and I'll know. But Mother stood nearby and listened. I know that it is not an illness. It's something more mysterious than that. In the evening when eating, Grandma brought food to Aunt Yum. But Aunt Yum is still asleep. My grandmother sat and watched with tears in her eyes. Calling my name, Yum, what's the matter? Do you want to wake up and eat some fish? But everything was quiet. Tonight, Mom and Uncle Yen went to sleep with Uncle Yo. As for Uncle Yu and Lekyak, they were sitting in the middle of the house smoking cigarettes and talking. I don't know how long she slept. I heard the clock in the house chime at around 1 a.m. Mother looked out at the room. Sleep without closing the door. There is a dim light on the table in the middle of the house. Saw Uncle Yak lying down. Nearby, Uncle Yu sits and nods as well. Within moments, Mother heard the soft sound of someone opening the door, added, followed by the sound of people stomping their feet and building. Mother said she was very scared at that time. I couldn't make a sound when I cried, but I stared outside the room. After a while, someone walked towards the center table. That's Aunt Yum. Uncle Yum stood staggering and looked at Uncle Yak and Uncle Yo, who were asleep for a moment. He walked towards the back of the house. Until I was out of my mother's sight, I could only hear a soft ad sound again. followed by the sound of the door closing, followed by the sound of people stomping their feet and buildings. Mother said she was very scared at that time. I couldn't make a sound when I screamed, but I stared outside the room. After a while, someone walked towards the center table. That's Aunt Yam. Uncle Yem stood staggering and looked at Uncle Yak and Uncle Yo, who were asleep for a moment. I walked towards the back of the house until I was out of my mother's sight. I heard only a soft "ad" sound again, followed by the sound of the door closing. After the sound of the door was quiet for a while, Mother hurriedly woke up Uncle Yo. Before waking up, it took time to go to sleep. But Uncle Yod, who had been sleeping, almost immediately woke up because a cold voice floated softly. Uncle Yod rose from his bed and went to wake up Uncle Yak and Uncle Yo. The two of them woke up and knew almost immediately what had happened, because that sound still floats around and makes a frightening shrill sound. Uncle Yak didn't say anything and took out the same shotgun. Then he gently ordered his mother to go back to bed and lock the door to the room. Close the windows and close all the curtains. If you hear any noise, you must not come out of the room. My mother really wanted to follow and see, but I'm also very afraid of Uncle Yak. Therefore, he was forced to return to the room and lock the lock as ordered. After that, Mother went to sit in the mosquito net, lying next to Auntie Yen, who was asleep without realizing it. I heard the three brothers walk towards the back of the house, the same path Auntie Yam walked too. The sound was still loud and sluggish from time to time, alternating with the sound of dogs howling loudly. Mother listened carefully. In that desolation, then Mother heard a commotion outside, and followed by the sound of Uncle Yak shouting loudly, drowning out the howling of dogs, and drowned out that strange sound. I'm not afraid of you. I'm sure you'll come out. I'm going to shoot this motherfucker to death again. Come out. Uncle Yak's voice stopped. Mother heard another voice floating in the distance. It's not a strange sound. It was an unfamiliar sound. Listen and get goosebumps all over your body. The sound of a woman laughing. There was a loud sound. Everything was quiet. After a while, Mother heard Grandma and Grandpa woke up, then ran out to the back of the house. I heard voices talking. What happened? Then his eyes scolded Uncle Yak and said, "Why did you take out the gun? What's going on? Did a thief break into the house?" After that, they started arguing. Mother heard Uncle Yak say, "Father, I don't know anything. Did you know that things in this house are strange? Ever since I felt sick. In the middle of the night, it will come out and mutter. It's crazy every night, all day long. Dad only does work. Do you know how scared the little ones are?" After that, they quarreled loudly. My eyes said that I was ignorant and nonsense. Where do ghosts really exist? While arguing, Grandma asked, "Where is Yum?" Uncle Yu said he hadn't found it yet. Grandma and Uncle Yu shouted. Uncle Yak and Uncle Yakum walked through the darkness and head towards the strange path. Uncle Yak was furious, challenging shout, "Come out, Iha, definitely come out." Grandma heard this and was shocked and cried out, "How can you challenge like that? Be quiet," Uncle Yak said. "Don't be afraid, Mom. There are a lot of people. I'm sure you'll come out. What did you guys do to make things worse by messing with my family? Come out." That's it. Everyone, including my mother who was sitting in the room, hear a bang. The sound was very loud, like someone had thrown lumps of dirt onto the roof of the house. My mother was shocked, but the person who was more shocked was outside the house. Mother heard Grandma say, "Mother told you not to challenge me. Did you tell me already?" Quiet, stop. But Uncle Yak was probably angry. He didn't shout, but he cursed. "Damn, what are you going to do with me? My grandmother scolded me. Stop it. Don't say hello. Don't challenge. Still unable to speak." The sound of someone throwing something onto the roof of the house. A loud bang. Another round, only to hear the loud sound of a shotgun, drowning out all other sounds. There was another commotion outside the house. Both grandfather and grandmother he cursed Uncle Yak a lot, saying, "Why did he shoot him? Is he crazy?" All the Chang villagers were shocked that time. Everyone heard the woman's screams. Grandma remembers that it was a smile, and they shouted to each other and walked towards each other for a moment. Mother heard Uncle Yat's voice say, "That's a hint. Hey, what are you doing in there?" My mother was still sitting in the room wanting to leave but was afraid. I heard noises outside from time to time. I heard the voices of Uncle Yu and Uncle Yud say, "Hey Yam, why did you go in there? How do you get in?" Mom decided to follow her to see what was going on outside. But he hadn't gotten out of bed yet. A soft voice came in. It was the sound of someone knocking softly on the bedroom door. Knock, knock, knock. Mother suddenly stopped. There was another knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Mother was silent, not daring to make a sound in her mind. Who was it? Everyone was outside the house. Or have you come back? But I could still hear the noise outside. Auntie Yan was sleeping next to him. Mother slowly stepped off the bed. Who is it? It was quiet for a moment. A cold voice replied, "Open the door for me." Mother was both confused and afraid, because that voice is Na Yam's voice. Another knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. "Open the door for me." Mom was bold and afraid and asked softly, "Are you open?" But the voice on the other end didn't answer, back to talking as usual. "Open the door for me," for the third time. My heart thought that it was my younger sibling. Reaching out to open the lock, he realized that. Mother remembered that a long time ago, when she was about 10 years old, Grandma used to tell me that in the past, a nearby sub-district had a strange story that was rumored to have a female ghost. Understand first, 30 to 40 years ago, something mysterious happened. I assumed it was a nymph beforehand, likes to come out and hang around late at night. And it will happen that teenagers or small children disappeared from home at night. Every event is told in a similar way. There will be the sound of someone you know knocking on the door. And call the names of the people in the house 3 times. The half-asleep person walked over and opened the door for him. He disappeared into the darkness and never returned. As for those who survived, they told us that it was like a dream, hearing someone I knew knocking on the front door at night. He walked out and opened the door, saw a woman standing in the distance. The person who described the dream was walking towards that woman. Just then, another person in the house woke up and shouted, "What are you doing? Are you sleepwalking?" The person who told the story became conscious. Found that I wasn't dreaming, I was actually standing in front of the house. When I listened to it, I was a little haunted. So Grandma said if someone knocks 3 times during the night, do not open the door because anyone who comes to the house will knock on the door softly and slowly. Ready to call only 3 times, Mother said that at that time she thought that Grandma was threatening. Until now, Mom, I don't know what inspired me, or have been suppressing this matter for many days. Mother shouted and cursed, "You crazy ghost! Wherever you go, don't come here." There was no reply. There was only cool, soft laughter. Then my mother cried out loudly, "Mom, help me." Then there was a noise. There was the sound of people running in. Grandma reached in first, pounded on the door with a loud bang, and asked, "What's going on?" "Open the door." Grandfather told me to open the door. My mother opened the door. Hug Grandma and cry alone. Uncle Yak walked in and asked, "What's the matter? What happened?" Mother also said that Yum came and knocked on the door of the room. Everyone in the house was confused because Uncle Yu had just picked up Aunt Yum and followed along. Grandma said that there was nothing wrong with her ears, but Mom confirmed that she had really heard it cursed as well. Mom didn't know if my grandparents believed it or not, but those two said that they had just heard it. But the person who believed it was Uncle Yak. because he appeared very angry. It was around 3 a.m. at that time. Uncle Yak went to get the car keys. Tell Uncle Yo and Uncle Yo to watch their father, mother, and younger siblings. I'll be back in the morning. Grandma and Grandpa asked where they were going. Uncle Yak didn't tell me. Just say I'll be back in the morning. Then Uncle Yak drove away. As for the rest, they didn't do anything and couldn't sleep. And Uncle Yem herself was like a normal person who was sleeping. For this story, let me end it here first. But I'll come back and tell it again because it's not finished. Thank you for listening and don't forget to subscribe. We still have many other things. Thank you.